Cleaning your firearm. I'd love to say there's one easy way to clean every firearm. And while there's a lot of similarities, the fact of the matter is because there's so many different designs, there's so many different ways to approach the animal. The Glock is the firearm that we are going to be cleaning today. If you happen to choose any other firearm, it's not a problem. Simply refer to the owner's manual. It'll show you the disassembly aspect and where to clean. Where to clean is actually very similar amongst all firearms as far as semi-automatics are concerned. But the takedown operation could be, and most likely is, a little bit different as you move from model to model. With the Glock, or the safe action, what we do is we pull the slide back just a little bit. They have these takedown levers. We'll push those down. We'll let it fly forward. We'll depress the trigger, push the slide right off the gun. This breaks it into two components: the slide component and the receiver component. The receiver component pretty much stays about where it's at. So we'll put this to the side and we'll focus on the slide components. The slide components fall into three categories: the slide, the recoil guide rod, and the barrel. So we'll disassemble as follows. Recoil guide rod, and the barrel. Now, as a firearm fires, carbon builds up. The goal is to find this carbon and eliminate it. So what we'll want to do is we'll take a small patch, like so. Now you can use solvent. I'm a little environmentally aware, so I like to use Legion Anywhere oil. It's a biolubricant, so it's biodegradable. I wouldn't suggest eating it, but I would definitely recommend cleaning any kind of metal parts with. So what we'll do is we'll wipe on a thin layer on the barrel and any excess carbon on the outside layers. The feed ramp, which you'll see here, is notorious for fouling for both brass as well as carbon fouling. So it's important to get all that out of the mouth of the chamber being the hole that the bullet originally enters into. Okay, so we've wiped the exterior layer of the barrel. We'll come back to the barrel. Let's do the exact same thing to the recoil guide rod and spring. Being that we'll go through some patches, just turn the recoil guide rod through the cloth to wipe off the excess. These springs are normally made out of a material called chrome silicon. Very durable, very comparable to music wire. Because of that, they have a pretty polished surface. Recoil guide rod. In this case, we have an aftermarket guide rod. This is the Springco guide rod system. It's a fantastic recoil recovery system. It also provides a little bit of added durability and reliability to your weapon. No oil is really needed in this process because it's high-speed polished metal, so a simple wipe down will do. It comes with a collet, we'll also wipe down. So now we're down to two of the major components, the ones that foul the most: the slide and the frame. Let's address the frame first. Now this is a polymer frame, so carbon has a way of hiding in spaces that really don't make it appear that there's carbon there. But the beautiful thing about it is a simple cloth will clean polymer rather easily, without any application of oil or anything else. So we'll do a once over with the cloth to get all the loose debris out. We'll try to hit as many crevices as possible. Now we have an abundance from all those ballistic gels. We have an abundance of gelatin that's adhered to the outside of the frame. So what we'll do is we'll just rub the bore brush lightly on the frame to peel that all off. May need to apply a little bit of solvent when you have some of the more stickier contaminants on the surface. Very minute amounts of oil or solvent are put into these areas. There's no reason to waste your cleaning products. They're not cheap. And if you care about the environment, they get a little bit more costly. There we have it. A clean frame, inside and out. Next is going to be the slide. This is going to be a little bit tougher, not because of the material, but necessarily its close relation to the barrel. The barrel is the highest carbon fouling area, and that's why we're going to leave that for last. So we put a little bit of oil or solvent in these areas. Now remember, if you purchase a Glock brand new, right here, you will find on this line a gold grease. Now I don't want you to wipe that grease off. That is lithium grease. That is actually put on there by the factory to enable your gun to be properly broken in as you fire it. So you want to be able to go around that. Glock comes with what's called a tenoffer finish. It's almost like a self-lubricating finish. One of the beautiful things about it is it allows, actually, I'm sorry, let me retract that. It does not allow contaminants to adhere permanently to the surfaces, so cleaning the gun becomes quite pleasant. But we still want to make sure we get into all those cracks and crevices. Sometimes we'll have to use a toothpick. I'm using the back end of a jag here. We'll get into that in a minute once we get to the barrel. You also have grooves in your slide. There'll be a light amount of carbon buildup in there, and you want to be able to get into those grooves. Now, the area that we're going to be cleaning right now is the breech face. This is where the barrel actually sets on the face of the slide and where the firing pin protrudes from the slide in order to gauge the bullet's primer. Now, there's a lot of different brush choices out there. I chose a brass brush, and the reason why is because when you're rubbing brass against another metal that's harder, like carbon alloys or even stainless steel alloys, it has no possibility of even scratching it because it's a softer metal, which is very important to preserve the life and appearance of your firearm. Now, depending on your weapon choice and the finish that it comes with, as well as the intricacy of the design, really gives you a good base understanding of how long it's going to take to clean it. So we now have a clean slide and a clean frame, clean guide rod. The final step is the barrel. The barrel, regardless of the firearm you choose, is the heart of the system. This is what launches the bullet from the platform to hit the target. There'll be many different kinds of rifled barrels. It'll be button rifled, polygonal rifling, or even broach cut rifling. Rifling is a little bit of concern. This particular weapon has what's called polygonal rifling. It's favored amongst many shooters because it doesn't have deep rifled contours. It doesn't allow for a lot of fouling to get deep inside, which causes a lot more higher maintenance as far as cleaning. At the same time, because it doesn't have the rifled barrel or the deep cut rifling, makes it a lot easier to clean. And it creates a gap around the bullet of pressure, so when you launch that bullet, it launches at a faster velocity. So what we're going to do is attach the bore brush to our cleaning rod. What I like to do to simplify things, also to protect the barrel a little bit, is I'll put a patch over the brush. And because the brush has those metal thistles on it, it's a little sharp, so it sort of naturally grabs. I'll put a little bit of oil on the face of the swab or patch. Now when we're cleaning a barrel, we'll always go from the rear to forward, never the other way around. Passed all the way through. Now we'll take that off, retract the cleaning brush, and do it again. First time I try to use the same patches because you'll go through a lot of these. One of the movements that we try to do is go on the back and forth movement. And you can see that it picked up a considerable amount of that carbon fouling inside the barrel. Can you see that? Clean through. So you can see the surface has been removed. So now what I'll do to wipe away any of the excess and to make sure there's no more carbon fouling inside the barrel is I'll place another patch onto the brush and I'll push it through. Now see, indeed, there is a little bit of carbon fouling, so this lets me know that my job is not done. Once again, a little bit more oil or solvent, whichever you decide. There are chemicals out there like tetrahydrochloride, also known as gun scrubber, that make this a lot quicker. But yet again, I'm a conservationist when it comes to wildlife. And the wildest life in the room is me. So I like to be a little bit of green when I have the opportunity and choice. So that's it. You have a clean gun. It took 1, 2, 3, 4 cotton patches, a very simple cleaning kit, and now all the internals are clean. So what we'll do is we'll reassemble. First step to reassembly is grabbing your slide and returning your barrel back into battery. The next step is your guide rod. With the Spring-Co guide rod operates like many other guide rods, particularly 1911s. You'll place the spring over the guide rod itself. In this case, we have the collet that goes into the recoil plug. Place the spring in the recess of the collet. Now, with a little bit of direction, what I like to do to keep everything from going crazy and wobbling is I apply a light amount of pressure onto the spring and recoil guide rod so I have some firmness. And then I'll find where that's at, the tip of the guide rod. I'll place 2 fingers on either side to keep it from wobbling. So push it all the way through. And now we have it returned into battery. The barrel's in place, the guide rod's in place, the collet's in place. Next is attach it to the frame. Before we attach it to the frame, there's going to be some key points that you're going to need to oil. One thing that you want to take attention to is all the contact surfaces between the slide and the frame. And this is going to be in the form of your slide rails. So you put a little drop of oil on each side. Going back to your slide, since we no longer have lithium grease in the spot that I'd mentioned, we're going to place a little bit of oil there because it is a high resistant area. And now we have your internals properly lubricated, so we'll reassemble the gun. We'll do this by placing the slide on the front of the slide rail and pushing it slowly back until we have it fully in place. Now, in order to lock this in place, the Glock particularly, if you notice, the takedown lever is halfway at its standpoint. So what we'll do is we'll just rack the slide as though we were chambering around. It is now assembled. Now, as a precaution, even though this has a tinifer finish on the slide, we like to keep a clean gun. Some people like to dress for success. We like to shoot for it. So a very small amount of oil. I'll take a final patch. Actually, you know what? I'll save the patch and I'll go for the rag. I'll just spread that over on a very thin layer around the gun. And this keeps the gun from, gives it the ability to fight off any inhibitors like rust, and also keeps it lubricated for a longer period of time. So we'll push the slide back so it locks into battery and the takedown lever is put into place. And now we have an assembled gun and clean gun. Now what I like to do, because you never can tell if you ever get a chance to get out to the range or not at an appropriate time, is put a little bit of oil on your slide on the exterior of it, take the rag, and basically just spread that over your slide. And if it is a stainless or carbon frame, I recommend the frame as well. In the case of the Glock, only the slide is metal, as well as the interior parts. So what we're going to do is focusing on a thin layer of oil on the exterior. And now you have a clean, well lubricated weapon. And that is how you clean a handgun. All right, we covered a lot of ground. We covered the gear that you need to maintain your equipment, the action types for different types of handguns out there, different caliber types. We've shown you how to engage a target, the proper fundamentals of your grip, your stance, your posture, your sight alignment, your trigger press, everything. Now it's up to you to take what we've given you and get out on that range and start throwing some lead. My name's Matt Williams, once again with Gunfighters Clinic, and we'll be back.